Okay, cool. All right. Hi, guys. Welcome to Monday night's team call. I know there was like a little bit of switching around with the leaders of who's leading the calls, but it's because for a really good reason, and that's because our guest. That's going to happen because Woody's not home right now, and they flip out on like any single word. So I apologize in advance. But so I'm really excited about tonight's team call because Nicole is someone that is near and dear to my heart. I have gotten to know her more and more over the years through our leader or our coach Liz's retreats. And every single time I get to know her more, my heart just like completely bursts for this girl. She's gone through so much, the struggles, the obstacles, and you would never know that she went through any of this by just looking at her, or even sometimes going through her Facebook, because she's so positive and she always looks for that that other way, or I don't know what I'm saying, like the other. You guys know I always mess up. I just looked at Danielle and she started laughing at me. She always finds that positive piece when life literally throws her shit storms. So before I pass it off to Nicole, two really quick announcements. One, the Thanksgiving Day or post-Thanksgiving 3-day refresh cleanse, the group is officially up. So if you want to be in that, if you want to be a part of that, we're going to be doing one grand prize winner again for the best transformation. So I would honestly say Wednesday would be the last day to purchase to make sure you get it in time. I know a lot of people kind of didn't have it last time, so make sure that you're prepared for that. And I don't remember my other announcement I was going to say, so I'm going to let Nicole go ahead. Oh, yes, Secret Santa. What's it, Danielle? Thank you. If you haven't seen the Secret Santa post, or if you haven't clicked into the group yet, make sure. Maggie, go ahead.
Yeah, so I already put the names in. So names have already been drawn. I gave people like an extra 2 days. So you can't sign up anymore. But if you did sign up, make sure you go in and click in and get your thing started.
Yes. Okay, awesome. And go ahead, Nicole, share all of your fun knowledge and positives.
Got it. All right, can you guys hear me? Yeah, okay, because I can be kind of soft-spoken, so if you can't hear me, just ask me to project a little bit more. My dog might also bark, so I apologize if that happens, but I have him like snuggling up right now, so he should be good for a while. Well, thanks for having me, guys. I am so happy to be here. I absolutely adore Rachel as well, and I so admire the way she's built her business. So I'm honored to be with you guys because I know that she has a lot of rock stars here and that you guys are really doing big things in your own business as well. Yes, I have a crazy story and waves of up and down, but so I've been a coach I'm actually coming up on my 3-year full-time anniversary in a couple months, which is crazy. And it's been a roller coaster. There's been highs, there's been lows. I've had moments where I felt on top of the world, moments where I've felt serious self-doubt. So wherever you guys are in your business, that doesn't really end, just know that. But it's so worth continuously taking the time to lean into that self-doubt, because what this can do for you, it truly changes your life. And so when people kind of ask me to share what this business has done for me, and I do have some slides I'm going to share with you guys in a little bit because I like to give actionable things that you can take away. But you know, it's really hard for me to summarize what this opportunity has done, and that's because, truthfully, like I feel as though it's given me so much life. And so I am a 3-time cancer survivor, and over these last couple of years, you know, on top of the cancer, my life has pretty much hit rock bottom time and time again. Like anything you can imagine going wrong has pretty much gone wrong. And so for me, I truly feel as though I may not have gotten through it if it wasn't for what not only this business has done for me in terms of freedom and the way to kind of design my life around what means the most and kind of about my bucket list life right now, if you will. But even more so the way it teaches you to kind of continuously lean into the struggle in life, right? To kind of try to find and realize that there's always some sort of lesson to be learned. And even more than that, I truly believe that wherever you are, if you have some pain or you've been through something, I don't like to say that our pain is our purpose, but I wholeheartedly believe our pain can have some purpose, and it's what kind of makes us a light for other people, and it's how what we go through things so that we can guide other people through it. And so that's like a huge perspective, and as a coach, I think we have so much power there. So as I jump in, I'm going to share bits and pieces of my story throughout just to kind of help drive some points home to you guys, but I want to kind of start with the sad truth. So the sad truth is that, most of us never really allow ourselves to be the person we're capable of being in life, right? We face our own internal demons, our own struggles with self-worth, that sense of significance, and we really end up kind of holding ourselves back, or playing it small, if you will. And I don't say this to kind of like point fingers and make accusations. I say it because I am totally guilty of that for most of my life. I've never been one to speak up, or like to be in the spotlight. I hate attention. I hate recognition. I would so much rather see other people shine. And it's funny because now I've kind of started to, through this business, open up and share so much more about, who I am, my pain, and how I get through things. But I've always been a very, very private person, and I hated social media before I started this business. And so even when it comes to my story and what I've been through, I actually used to be very embarrassed of my entire life. And I always felt as though opening up about that was kind of a way, it was a sign of weakness. And so I kind of lived very surface deep in life, and I never really opened up and kind of let anyone in or let myself be seen. And so I kind of lived with this like toxic way of life where I was never able to fully accept what I had been through, right? And so what I want to share with you guys tonight is I really want to talk about how to kind of like find the light in your own story, to kind of find the bravery and to share the authenticity of your story, not only as a way to boost your business, but because it's going to give you so much liberation in the fact that you have so much worth and you have so much to offer. And it kind of makes you feel as though everything that you've been through in life is for some reason, right? It can have some purpose. And so that's kind of what I want to share with you guys, so that, you're not walking through the motions, or you're not afraid to just embrace who you really are. So I'm going to share some slides with you just to kind of guide you through, because otherwise I can ramble. So I don't want to do that to you guys. So basically what I wanted to do and kind of to share my story was more so I want this to be about you guys too. And that's a big thing that I'm going to touch base on tonight too, is that when you share your story, you want to make sure you share it in a way that it's not all about just you. And so we'll kind of get to that, but I really want to talk about how to clarify your message. And so the way I kind of break this up into 3 pillars, and the ways that I think that you start with this, so we're going to talk about self-awareness, we're going to talk about being a light, and we're going to talk a little bit about determining your mission. And so to start, we're going to talk about self-awareness, okay? Because everything in this business, it truly does start with you. And I'm sure you guys know that at this point, but your journey and everything you're going on, it always has to come back to you, because your business is only going to grow as much as you grow. If you don't peel back those layers on yourself to kind of figure out, what you have to offer people, what your true strengths are, what your story is, it's going to be really hard for you to connect to people. And you have to connect to people. And first, you have to connect to yourself. And so I want to talk a little bit about how to zone in on your story. Like if you have not yet gotten crystal clear on what your story is, you are missing out, because this is your true connection to people, okay? So we're going to simplify this. And this is kind of how I'm going to help you guys find those bits and pieces to start to share with people to really get them to kind of be more drawn to you. So the first thing I want you to think about is, what are some struggles you've overcome in your life? And not just what you've overcome, but what got you through them. And specifically, I would say tie it to things, that Beachbody has helped you to get through them. So for me, like I first found Beachbody after my first scare with skin cancer. And I actually ordered P90X off of an infomercial. I didn't even know the coaching opportunity existed. But I was at this point where I hit like this low in my life. Like it might sound so superficial, but I always kind of felt good when I was tan. I felt everything I had to have the best clothes, skinny, all this stuff. It was very superficial. And all of a sudden, I couldn't be in the sun anymore. I had to kind of question my identity. I dyed my hair jet black and got extensions overnight, like seriously, like a quarter life crisis. It was tragic. But for me, like I so badly needed just like a win to feel good about myself. And that was when I committed to P90X, because I realized I had absolutely no true self-confidence. And I never had anyone in my corner growing up. I had a terrible family situation. And so I just never really knew how to be proud of myself, I guess you could say. And so I love the idea of a fitness program of me against me at home. And I kind of fell in love with fitness at that point, and how fitness helps you carry over from, it's not about physical, it's about the internal transformation, right? It's about the way, the connection to the mind. It's about setting goals. It's about the person you're working on becoming. And so that's when fitness became like a pillar in my life. So, when I share, my stories about fitness, I very rarely talk about the physical transformation. For me, it's all about the internal. And so what I want to pull out of this for you guys, when you're sharing your results, when you're talking about what these programs do for you, talk about the emotional piece, right? Talk about the internal factors, because that's what people are going to be more drawn to. It's more about how you're helping them change as a person internally, because people make decisions based on that pain that they want to overcome. And so you kind of got to talk to the true pain. Like, yes, it can suck not feeling good, not like looking good in a bikini, but it's more about how, you feel. It's about that confidence. So always peel back the layers when you're talking about your transformation and really talk about the internal stuff, because I think that's much more impactful than the external usually. Another thing to focus on is insecurities. What insecurities have you faced, and how have you, or how are you overcoming them? And so, this can be something as silly, like I have chicken legs. Like I have the skinniest little legs ever. And in high school, I remember I used to wear like long johns under my jeans, no joke. So like little things like that, I've always had to struggle with, feeling good with like my frame. And so, talk about those little insecurities that you've overcome too. And they might be things that like you're afraid or embarrassed to admit, but those are the things that a lot of people are facing too. And where are you headed? I think this is a really big one, because whether you're in the business for a couple of years or whether you are just starting, where you are headed, I think, is the most impactful thing that we are teaching people. We are teaching people to challenge the status quo, right? Like people get so caught up in that 9 to 5 and walking through the motions, living how they think they're expected to live. And we're here telling them, like, it's okay. There's like another way that you can go for it. And it's going to take work. Yes, they might think you're nuts, but it's so worth it. So, when I first got started, just to talk to you about like the belief and kind of where you're headed with this, I was, after I tried the program on my own, my coach, I did work with her for a while before, and I got started like for the discount with Shakeology, because I kind of fell in love with, the programs, feeling good on the road, like all that type of stuff. And with time, I saw her having some potential with it, but I loved my job. I was in corporate. I had a job that I was like so proud of, that I worked really, really hard to get to. And I just didn't really see the connection. Like I was caught up in that status quo. And my grandmother, she kind of called me out on it and told me I wasn't happy. And, leading up to that point, I had cancer 2 times. My mother passed away. And I was starting to really question like my purpose. Like, what is my purpose in life? And I just felt kind of empty inside, regardless of the fact that I had this job I worked for. I was in this great relationship. Like I bought a condo on my own, like all these things that seemed great, but there was just something off. And my grandmother called me out on that. And so not too long after, she got really sick and the priorities became much, much different. But when she passed away, I kind of felt like the weight of the world on my shoulders. And ironically enough, that was when I met Rachel for the first time, and Liz hosted this retreat. And I went, and at that point, like I was barely working the business. Like it was very much so like a part-time hobby for me, like to kind of get that sense of fulfillment and a travel fund. But I hadn't really seen the potential of it full time. And then I went to this retreat and it all changed. And I was like, wow, other people believe in this. Like this isn't just Liz being nuts. Like there's something to this thing here. And so I decided I was going to like start treating it as a business. And I told you I was very private and very quiet and like didn't like to talk about like anything about myself, my story, anything like that. But kind of my grandma passing away gave me that push. And ironically enough, like 2 weeks later, I got laid off from that corporate job. And so my back was kind of pushed against the wall. And at that point, I decided like enough was enough. Like I knew I wanted to, like I had seen how precious life was way too many times. And I refused to continue kind of just walking through the motions, living how I thought I was supposed to live. And I decided to go all in. And I think my paycheck that week that I went all in was like $32. Like, I don't know who the hell I thought I was, but I didn't care. Like people asked me what I was going to do. And I was like, yes, I'm using this platform. I'm partnering with Beachbody. I'm starting my own business. Like I turned down job offers, but like I knew where I was headed. And so the confidence in where I was headed, like my business, like that was the most exciting year of my business because of how fired up I was about where I was headed. And so that's the power I want to talk to you guys is that, that just that fire alone of knowing what you want, it's going to set you in action. It's going to draw people to you. So even if you haven't had that success or reached it yet, continuously share about where you're going with it because that is so, so, so impactful. The other huge part of self-awareness is you really got to figure out kind of where you're holding yourself back. Because we can be our own worst enemy. We can self-sabotage ourselves. We can hold ourselves from truly becoming who we want to be. But you got to figure out what those limiting beliefs are. And even more than that, I want to make sure that you guys are touching base on like who your common enemy is, right? So this is where you want to think about where you're headed. What are like the stories that people say or that you initially might think when you start to talk about where you're headed. So for me, like, I feel so close when I'm with my grandmother. I mean, I feel so close to her when I'm traveling. Like, she loved to travel. So when she passed away for 2 years, like, I couldn't sit still. I went on like multiple trips a month. Like, I was constantly in the go. Like, I couldn't seem to get enough of it. And so for me, I was determined to build a successful business while simultaneously like traveling the world. And that is something that people used to say was impossible to do, right? So I will talk about that a lot. I will say, I will attack that common enemy of, why can't you build a business while traveling the world? So make sure you address like those enemies, those doubts, those naysayers that try to say like your dream is impossible, and tell them how you're going after it anyway, because that is really, really impactful. And then the other thing is, you really have to learn to see and believe in your own worth. You have to know and have that belief in where you're headed, and never let it like fray. Like I said, the self-doubt's going to come, but you got to figure out how to overcome that. And a big thing here is perspective. So, a lot of people will ask me, how the hell do you keep like picking yourself back up and like continuously moving forward? And it's not always easy, I won't lie. But I mean, even like today, so I had a health scare yesterday, and all day I was like, I just wanted to cry all day. But then you have to like shift, and like life is so precious and so rare that you have to force yourself to find that positive shift in perspective, because there is always some sort of light. And I think the best way to think of it is that regardless of what you're going through, if you're having a low in your business, or if you feel as though you're hitting a wall, always look for what you can learn, right? If you can make that shift and be like, what can I learn from here? How can I be better? And remind yourself of also how far you've come. I think that's really, really huge, and it's something that we don't do enough of, is truly look back on how far we've come, because we get so excited about, what's next and like that big goal we're reaching for. But if we lose track of like all the little things along the way, you're never going to feel that sense of fulfillment or happiness even when you do hit that goal. And the funny thing is, when you hit a goal, you usually come plummeting down after, because that's such a huge high. So please, please, please always take the time to like put the perspective into place in terms of, how far you've come, and to try to focus on, what you can learn more of. So I want to give you guys a self-awareness activity. So this is huge. I actually use this with my team in terms of helping them develop their brand as well. So I know some of you guys are probably like already in the business a while. Some of you guys are so I'm not sure where you are, but this is awesome regardless of where you are, because so often we can be our own worst critics, right? And we don't see our true value. So this is so great. You want to see yourself through the eyes of someone else. So what I encourage you guys to do is to reach out from anywhere to 10 to 20 people. And the first thing I want you to ask them to share is 6 words they think of when they think of you, okay? And so these words are going to be things like strong, honest, charismatic, these words. And so what these are going to do is, first off, it's going to give you this boost of, wow, like I can't believe these people I care about see me in this light. It's going to help you see your own worth, like your own worthiness, your own value. But even more than that, I think these words, you're going to come back with a list of, probably like 30 words. And I want you to choose your top 6, okay? And those 6 are going to be the words that you want to be known for. I always say your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room, and you get to choose that. These 6 words, these are going to pretty much become the pillars of your brand. And this is where you can kind of pull off pieces of your story to tie into these words. So when people tell me, like, I pretty much always get strong, I kind of break that out to pieces of my story too. Cancer survivor, overcoming loss, overcoming losing a job, like, and I pull out these little pieces of my story. So it's going to help you really dig deeper into your story. And the second one, I actually added this in, Rachel, after the last retreat, because I thought this was so awesome, was what would they come to you for help with? So often we don't even realize what our strengths are, or we take them for granted, I should say. Our true area of excellence are the things that we typically take for granted because they're so easy for us. So if you reach out to people and ask them what they would come to you for help with, they're probably going to tell you something that you're like, well, that's it? Like, that's so easy, because it's easy for you. And so this is something, like I say to Rachel, I said to her, I was like, you need to talk more about how like you budget to get yourself out of debt. Like, that's huge. And so like, these are the things that, you can share on top of your Beachbody business that's going to draw people in. And you're going to be surprised, because they're probably going to tell you the exact same thing. And this is also a great area to use if you're trying to develop a freebie in terms of like an opt-in for email addresses. Create some freebie around that area of excellence, because something that's going to come so easy to you. So like, I have one of the girls on my team, she didn't even think to include this. She was struggling with what to come up for a freebie. And she was like, I want to do something about how to have a fit pregnancy, or how to bounce back after pregnancy. And I was like, but that's too fitness oriented. You have so much outside of that. And everyone came back to her saying, I come to you for recommendations on like baby products. So I was like, you need to put together like a 1-sheet free opt-in for your top baby products. So that's a really great way to figure out like what your opt-in should be that you can create so quickly. But more than anything, this helps you see your value, guys. This is really, really impactful. Okay, next, be a light. So this is where I want to talk about kind of like what we go through. It makes us a light for others, okay? So you have to get crystal clear, though, on who you want to help. Who is your avatar? And so the avatar worksheets, there's a bunch of them out there, and it can be such a pain in the ass to do because it takes so much time. But when you really get crystal clear on who you're talking to, and you talk to them in all of your content, it is going to help you like truly, truly, truly find your tribe, if you will. Like those people that not only you're excited to talk to and kind of enjoy working alongside, but you are so passionate about helping because you kind of see yourself in them. And that's the sneaky part about it, is your avatar actually ends up being you before you got started with coaching. But if nothing else, I really want you to think about the 3 needs of your ideal customer or coach, the top 7 questions they're searching for answers to, and again, that common enemy you can attack. And from there, you really want to talk to this stuff in your content. And just like a rough estimate of how you can do that is, 4 times a week, post around kind of, that number 1. And that's where you share kind of your story, and not just your story, but share the lesson that you learned, right? Remember I said there's always a lesson to be learned, and kind of the problem that you help people solve in doing this. Like, what are you helping them solve in their own life? Always answer some of those questions, and those aren't just objections to the coaching opportunity. These are just questions in general, like bigger questions in life. Like for me, when I lost my mom and she kind of wasted her life, which sounds harsh, but she did, I felt as though like, wow, life is so precious. Like I never want to waste my life. Like what is my purpose? And that's a big thing to try to figure out. So I try to talk to that a lot in terms of like, what do you want your impact to be? Like, what are you searching for that's bigger than just you? And so, that's what you really want to think about, those questions that your ideal person is looking to, and it could be something as silly as like, you'd be amazed at how many people come to me for dating advice, which is just, it cracks me up. But because I was in a 7-year relationship and then that ended and I had to start over, and I went on like what I call now, like my own eat, pray, love. And so people have noticed, like that I've started over being single. And so a lot of times people want to know like what it's like to start over and stuff. So, don't feel so like cookie cutter into that it has to all be directly business related. Okay. And then you want to talk to that common enemy, like talk about how you are facing that enemy head on and saying like, screw, because that's what people are going to be like, wow, she's awesome. Like, I didn't think that this is possible, but you know what? She believes in it. So why shouldn't I kind of like see what they're all about? So that's kind of how you can feel like there. And then this, I don't know if you guys are, I'm sure you guys are in the One Coach One Lesson. I did a whole talk on what your mission is, and I could go on and on and on about mission, because I think this is the true like shifting point in your business. Okay. We talk about vision so much, and your vision is what gets you to take action. Your vision is like that, where you're headed with your life, right? That's what you want to bring about for change. Your why is your stay power. Like we say, you need to have why, because that makes you show up day in and day out. Your mission is what helps you project it beyond just yourself. And so like your mission, it's not just in terms of, yes, I think you should have like a mission statement for your business, for your team, like what you stand for, but even more so, like this is about like truly living with like that end in mind. And so this is where I'm going to kind of get deep with you guys. So from someone who has had to ask, who has multiple times had to actually like sit there and fear, like, am I going to die? That makes you live very differently. It makes you look through life and lens and everything in a totally different perspective. And so while I hope you never have to do that, I do want to encourage you guys to think that way, okay? I want you for a minute to think about, to the end of your life, what do you want to have been known for, first off? But more than that, what do you want to have left behind? Because truly, like, yes, Beachbody is an amazing platform, but it's just that, it's a platform. It's allowing you to build something so much bigger than just yourself. You're truly starting to build your legacy of what you stand for, because this is a business that's all about service. It's all about helping people elevate their lives, right? You're bringing people along with you, but you need to know what it is you want to stand for and what it is you want that to be at the end of your life. And when you figure that out, you will be so much more fired up and so much more proud to start doing that now. And it makes it that much more easy to truly invite people to do it with you. And even more than that, you kind of get a little picky in terms of the people that you partner with, because you start to see potential in people. And I think that's when it changes. When you can talk about these bigger things about where you're headed in life, what you want to be known for, what you want to stand for, you become someone of integrity. And it's not about just you anymore. and you start to connect with people on a deeper level. And then you got to see like all this potential that they have. And I don't know about you guys, my favorite part about this business is seeing someone with potential and helping them truly start to tap into that. Because you know that regardless of whether or not they make money with Beachbody, their life is going to entirely change because they're learning to believe in themselves. So that's what I want you guys to think about is, what do you want to be known for? What do you want your legacy to be? And what are you trying to create now? Because this is truly what you're going to stand for. So last thing I have, the secret formula for Sharon, if you will. So there is a great podcast. It is on EntreLeadership. It's from the Creative Story brand. He actually has like 3 on there right now. One of them is about sharing your story. And then there are 2 about clarifying your message in a way that you like zone in right away. That's great for like designing your website or kind of having your elevator pitch when you talk to people. But the biggest thing is when you are sharing your story, when you finally take the time to see the light in your story, and you do have so much light in your story, you want to help people see themselves in your story. So it's not all about like, this is what I did. You have to share it in a way that they can see it's possible for them too. So you want to kind of paint the picture, like share a story, shedding light on the truth, right? Something you want to share with them so that they learn. You want to tell them how you can relate the problem, how you can share a solution to them, and then what the outcome is. So like I started this call and I shared like a sad truth with you guys, right? I said the sad truth is that most people end up getting caught living in autopilot, never tapping into what they're fully capable of. You always want to start, like when you're sharing and talking about this, share kind of like that sad truth. Share kind of a pain point that people are trying to overcome. And then tell them how like you've been there too. Be like, I can so relate to this because I was there. And then tell them kind of like the little things that you use to get through it now. And that's when people are going to start to think like, wow, like there's something here. Like she can be a guide. And I'm going to close with like a little thing real quick here, because this is something, stop share here. But this is something I always like say with my team. I think this is really, really powerful. So the thing I want, and I'm going to read it because I don't want to mess it up, but what I want you guys to know is that everyone has a story, right? And those stories, they have the power to positively inspire or change the lives of others. It's in sharing these stories that we are truly connected and feel empowered to reach for something more. Your role as a coach is first to find the light in your own story, and then to use it as a platform to help others find something more in themselves, to embrace their true self so that they can shine bright, find their voice, and truly tap into their potential. And I think that's what we do as coaches. We guide people to their true potential. So that's what I got for you. Any questions? Did I ramble for too long? And I hope this is what you wanted me to talk about, Rachel.
No, I don't know about anybody else, but like my heart for one is so full, and like whenever you speak, I'm so drawn into everything that you have to say because it's so true and it's so real. And I hope I'm not speaking for just myself, but I feel like we needed to hear everything that you had to say. Can anyone else agree? Like, absolutely. Could you, Nicole, send me those slides? And then what's the name of the podcast?
So it's the EntreLeadership podcast.
Is that the Darren Hardy one?
No, Dave Ramsey.
Oh, Dave Ramsey, wrong guy. Who would have thought?
And so, yeah, so just search for Story Brand. It's with the Creative Story Brand. The first one is 2 years ago. I think I have them saved in my team page. I can send them to you also. And then the Clarifying Your Message was just a couple months ago. So I'll send you those.
Perfect. So I would love to listen to those. Does anyone have any questions or something that they want to say that maybe they could relate to on with what Nicole shared with us? Don't be afraid. Anyone? Really, guys? I feel like no one ever speaks.
It's late too. But yeah, feel free to send me a message anytime. I'm a complete open book.
All right. Well, if no one has anything to say, I mean, I could talk forever. There were so many little things that you said that I was just like, oh my God, yes. Like, completely reminded me about how to, like, the whole budgeting thing. Like, that to me came so easy. And it's something that I just thought people knew how to budget. When apparently I found out like a lot of people don't know how to budget their money. So that's something that I've kind of been running with. And that's something that I think we can do on a team call too, because I haven't done that with them yet about the, what would you come for me for? But that was one of my favorite activities that we did with Liz at her retreat. But yeah, I am going to be listening to this recording tomorrow on my long drive home, because there were so many great things that you said that I want to, and like so many post ideas came to my mind as you were speaking, which I think is fantastic. And I'm going to share, when you send me the slides, I'll post them in the team pages too. But I can't thank you enough. I know that life has certainly thrown you your curveballs. So thank you for sharing your heart and being on our call with us tonight and just kind of opening up to us. And yes, have everybody, team, have a fantastic Thanksgiving. I hope you guys, if you're traveling, safe travels. And we will pick up Monday. I think Maggie's talking, or Noelle. Someone's talking. I don't really know who. I think it's Noelle. So we will see Noelle next Monday. She'll be leading the call. And I will see you guys then. Have a good Thanksgiving. Thanks,
Bye.
Nicole.
Thank you.